Okay, so you've got your passport, your meds, your insurance, but is your data protected? While you're checking into your hotel, someone might well be checking into your inbox. Today, we're breaking down the cyber risks that travelers face and how to stay one step ahead. So welcome to the Safe Travel Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Dan Thornton, founder of Goldfish. He's a cybersecurity expert and former Royal Marine Commando. So welcome, Dan. How's it going?
Good, thanks, Darren. Thanks very much for having me.
Yeah, cool. Right, cyber, it's I think, the buzzword of the moment. Everyone thinks they know something about it, but travelers face, I presume, a whole load of risks when it comes to cyber. What are we talking about?
Darren, I mean, the first thing about travel is people are away from their normal, safe, secure office environment or their safe, secure home environment. So when people start traveling, they don't have a security team or an IT team to now keep them secure within that safe office bubble. And it's all up to them. They need to start thinking for themselves. They need to start taking responsibility and start understanding some of the risks that are out there that are very real that they face for their devices, their data, their day-to-day going on. So, I mean, one of the big things, I mean, you've spoken about it there already. A lot of people will talk about public Wi-Fi. You know, we absolutely love being able to find a Wi-Fi hotspot, getting onto that. It's the very first thing anybody does anywhere. You know, where's the Wi-Fi? Let me get connected. And that has its own risks. A lot of the time, the risks can be a bit inflated. You know, the old school claims of big man in the middle attacks, and if you're on a Wi-Fi network, anyone else on that Wi-Fi network can intercept what you're doing and what you're sending and what you're seeing. That's quite old school. The majority of websites now are fully encrypted. So if it's got that padlock on the website there and it's got an HTTPS, that website itself is encrypted and traffic to that website is encrypted. Even if you are on a public Wi-Fi and other people are on it, the data going in is encrypted. So it's not really, we don't need to worry about that like we used to. What is a major risk is fake hotspots. So you go into a hotel and you have on your phone or your laptop, you discover all the different Wi-Fi spots for the hotel, and up pops a free hotel Wi-Fi, and you click on that. But what you don't know is it's not actually the hotel's Wi-Fi network. It's a fake network that's been set up by some malicious actor or bad actor. And then once you're on his network, he's able to then intercept a lot that is going on and be able to track a lot that is going on and be able to see a lot of information that you're then sharing across his network. So, I mean, best thing here is VPNs. Now, like I said, if you're using non-sensitive accounts, if you're just Googling shit and searching stuff for the internet and buggering around on the internet, it's all HTTPS, it's all encrypted sites. The majority of your trusted sites are safe. So if we're pushing traffic through those sites, it's fine. If, however, you are connecting to sensitive accounts,
so work-related, yeah,
work-related, banking, email is another one. These are all sort of really sensitive accounts, investment accounts, obviously, that sort of stuff. Don't risk using a Wi-Fi network. You know, the chances of somebody intercepting, again, all of these sites we've talked about are all encrypted, but don't risk it. If it's really sensitive information, if it's banking information, if it's work-related stuff, if you're logging into work accounts, etc., don't risk it. Use a VPN, set up a VPN.
So what is a VPN? For those people that are coming on and going, this is actually the first time I've been involved in this. What's a VPN?
So a VPN is a virtual private network. And what that means is, again, it provides an encrypted tunnel from your device and the information you're sending to the website that you're talking to. So if you are wanting to log into your bank account, when you put in your username and password, it's going to encrypt that information across that network. So nothing on that Wi-Fi network is going to be able to basically pick up what those credentials are. They'll go straight into that website. So that's a good tip to use. Hotel Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi, coffee shop Wi-Fi, that sort of stuff. People just need to be aware that there is a risk involved and be very careful what you are doing on public Wi-Fi. And if you are slightly suspicious or doing something sensitive, use a VPN. And if you don't have a VPN or don't want to use a VPN, use your mobile data and that 4G, 5G connection off your phone, tether to that as a hotspot. That's a hell of a lot more secure because you can trust that provider, you know that and understand that. There's no risk then of you using some fake Wi-Fi network there. Secondly, and probably one of the biggest forms of risk while traveling is device theft or tampering. Probably the most likely threat. We've all done it. We all know somebody who's done it. Either you've had something stolen off you, or you've just left it in a cab, in an Uber, in a hotel room. And unfortunately, this can expose everything you've got on your device to the new owner of that device. And we know now that most people have got their lives on their mobile phones, access to absolutely everything, all of your work stuff, all of your family stuff, all of your investments, your banking, your cloud drives, everything is now accessible through that mobile device, through that iPad, through that laptop. And so one of the biggest risks we can get is when they get stolen. And people will not take that as seriously as it should be taken. You know, we get to a hotel room and we take our passports and put them in the safe and secure that safe and lock that safe down. But we'll go down for breakfast in the morning and leave our laptop lying, you know, on the hotel desk and not worry about it. And so people need to really think about securing these devices at all times, making sure that they're encrypted, making sure that we're using pins and biometrics to lock it down, and then possibly using privacy screens as well. That brings me on to the next sort of bit of threat really is shoulder surfing. Again, while you're traveling, while you're on airplanes, while you're in airports, while you're in hotel lobbies, we need to be aware of the potential of people looking in at what we're doing, listening in on what we're doing. You know, we call it shoulder surfing, but it's a very, very easy way to snoop and see what people are doing, what information they're working on. And, you know, I've seen people on airplanes who'll sit and work through some highly sensitive corporate presentations. They'll build a presentation on the next corporate plan or go-to-market strategy or big IP they're working on the laptop next to me. And, you know, people are just completely oblivious to the fact, you know, and a lot of people are carried away in the hustle culture and they think it's super sexy to be working the whole time and showing everybody how busy they are and what cool stuff they're working on or who they're working for. All of this is information that can be used by bad actors against you or your organization. And then finally, Darren, talking about the threat landscape, there is always the potential of state surveillance or border risks, depending on which part of the world you're going to. You know, there is always the potential for SIM swaps or SIM cloning, where attackers are, you know, can potentially intercept your calls or your text or your text messages, and border inspections. A lot of governments, a lot of border posts and border authorities can ask you to unlock your device and provide access to the device, provide access to the data. And depending on the work that you are doing, whether it's sensitive, this could, you know, provide huge risks to your work, your company, yourself. And a lot of people don't plan for that properly.
Just staying on that then. So if I'm at a border and I know I've got sensitive data that I don't particularly want anyone to see, and I do get asked to open my phone, how can I comply? So I'm going to open my phone, but how can I reduce the impact of them having access to that? Is there anything you can do, or is that just the way it is?
You could, I mean, what would be best recommended is to travel with a clean phone. If you are going
Okay.
on a work trip, if you're going on a work trip, you don't need to take your personal phone with all of your apps that you have and all of your different accounts that you have access to and all of your banking and all of your Drive accounts, your Google Drive, your OneDrive, your Dropbox. You don't need to have all of that on that device. If you're going to somewhere sensitive where the risk of this type of threat may happen, well, have a clean phone and happily open it for them. The last thing you want to do is say that you're not opening and we're going to get lawyers involved and it becomes a long bloody day with immigration and customs.
Yeah.
So you want to comply. You don't want to bring any undue attention to yourself. The quicker you comply, the quicker they're going to get you through. But if you can show them, a clean phone with nothing on there, they're very quickly going to let you go. There's the risk as well of having hard drive, and whether it's USB sticks or large external hard drives. A lot of journalists need to be traveling with this sort of stuff. A lot of corporate companies need to be traveling with that sort of stuff because their destinations might not have them, access to great internet. So they need hard drives, and somebody having access to your hard drive has got its own risk as well. So limiting those devices where possible is also key.
So you talked about a privacy screen. Like, how much is a privacy screen? Where do I get one, and how do I use it? Like, this sounds really basic.
It is very basic, and it's a bit cheesy, but it does actually work. It's a very simple film you can buy on Amazon probably for $5-10, and it'll fit over your screen, literally over the screen of the laptop, and it just allows anybody to the left or right of you to not actually be able to see what you've got on your screen. You'll need to be able to sit directly in front of that screen, and then you'll be able to see the screen and the information on there. It just completely shelters anybody to the left or right of you from what you've got on your screen. It's a very, very simple, cheap way to protect and allow people to continue working when they're in public places, they're in airports or coffee shops or hotels.
I mean, from a travel safety perspective, obviously this strays into two areas in terms of your personal safety as well as your IT. So I don't really want anyone knowing who I am and what I'm up to, because of course that may mean I'm of value in some way.
Well, exactly that. That's a really key point. And like I said, in the hustle culture out there, people love to talk about how busy they are or be on phones, so then the big corporate call, or show everybody that they're on a work call right now. And, people are always listening. And your areas like airports and hotels, if you are a threat actor, if you are in corporate espionage or government espionage, or these are parts of the world that are just primo areas for gathering intelligence and getting data on potential targets. And something as well that a lot of people love to do is post their travel plans. Everybody wants to post and let everybody know about their big travel plans coming up, and whether it's for a work trip or a personal trip. More often, they will share, I'm off to Dubai for 2 weeks, super excited. Or people love to post photos in the airport lounge of their passport and their tickets that they've got, or their boarding passes. Like, fuck's sake, are you joking? And all of this is information now that is out in the wild. Not only are you telling people how long you're going to be away from home or where in the world you're going to be going, but you're also providing information on what type of passport you have or the airline you're flying with. Because if they have that sort of information, there are all sorts of scams that can be put. There are all sorts of plans that can be put together to target you, and take advantage of that information. And yet people willingly take this information and post it online for everyone to know.
So that's interesting. So the scam element, you post all this information, and they say you're traveling with whatever airline, presumably that they use that information back at you because it sounds legitimate now, because they seem to have information that makes sense. Is that how that
Well,
works?
exactly. Exactly. I mean, your scammers want to build scams and pretexts to be as convincing as possible. They want to send that message to you, that phone call to you, that email to you, to get you to give them information back, get you to click on some link, get you to transfer some money, do whatever it is. And the more convincing they can be that they are the airline, or they are, a government agent, or whatever it is, if they've got information about where you're flying, what passport you have, what airline you're flying with, what dates you're flying, how long you're gone for, where you're going to be staying, all of this builds this perfect target profile for them that they can now start putting scams together on. And people are just helping them do it. Everybody loves to talk about, scream from the hills about privacy and how we want our privacy and how the government's taking our privacy, or the social media platforms are taking our privacy, but they're giving it out freely every
Yeah,
day.
yeah. So what then? What are the big things that I'm a traveler, and I know it's different for all the different countries you might end up in, but what are the top 3 or 4 scams that I'm likely to face, or what are the techniques, if that's the right word?
Yeah, I mean, SIM swapping is a big one, where you're going to go into a local shop, maybe at the airport, maybe at a local shop, and you're going to buy a local SIM card. And there is potential for them to copy that SIM and to basically be able to then receive calls and receive SMSs that were going to you as well, and they will also get that, and that's called a SIM swap fraud. So if they can figure out what your banking is, or they can figure out what apps you're using, and that type of stuff, they could try and log in to that bank, and when that bank sends a confirmation code or a one-time PIN or whatever, and it gets sent to your SMS, or your text message gets sent to your phone, they actually receive that, and then they're able to get in. So that's a huge risk with mobile phones and multi-factor authentication. This is why it's really important that using SMS and text message for multi-factor authentication is a very old school, very bad way to do it, and people should much rather use authentication apps to do that. Other scams on travel, I mean, there's a ton of different travel scams out there, but Airbnb scams are great, where you will see a place advertised on maybe booking.com or even Airbnb and these places, and they'll build up a whole profile and fake profile of a place. And it'll be advertised, you'll book your accommodation, you'll book your whole trip, and you'll arrive there and either the place doesn't exist, or there's somebody already staying in there that has it booked up, and your money's gone because you've paid up front for that, and the person that was advertising to you has got nothing to do with that property. So different travel scams there, and that's all about using the right apps, using the right booking systems to do that, getting confirmation. What are the types of scams really are there? Yeah, I mean, all of these are quite advanced social engineering scams. We talk about different types of advanced hacking attacks as well that can happen on mobile devices and laptops, but it's the really basic stuff that puts people in trouble 95% of the time. It's leaving those laptops unattended, it's losing your mobile phone, it's basic things like using charging stations. They it used to be a bit of a thing where people were like, oh, you can't plug your chargers in at airports. They've got the big charging stations at airports, and yeah, and if you plug your phone in, there's a major risk that hackers could then steal your data into the charging station, and that's a bit outdated now as well. I mean, most phones now would ask for permission before connecting to any external device anyway. But there's no reason why people can't travel with their own plugs and their own power banks as well. Like, don't trust these charging stations as well, because what happens so much of the time is somebody will go and plug their phone in and walk away and go get a coffee, and now their phone is completely exposed for anybody to go and tamper with and get in. And
so I was just going to say,
yeah.
so again, I suppose my worry for people when they're traveling overseas in terms of their information security, and I suppose this ties in, is that clean desk policy, whether it's their IT they've left out or whether it's documents or whatever. There's an assumption that when housekeeping come in, they're just housekeeping, as opposed to assuming that, well, they have access and therefore they're probably on a fairly, well, first of all, they have access. Secondly, they're probably on quite a low wage. And therefore, there's a possibility that with a little bit of payment, this individual could be used to collect information because of the vast amount of access they have across a hotel. So, yeah, just leaving it out and going, well, it's housekeeping, and housekeeping. It's always, we find, slightly naive of people.
Massively, and I agree with that 100%. It's a complete stranger. It's a complete unvetted stranger that has total access to all of your belongings. And like I said, you get into a hotel, you set up your workspace, your workstation, you've got your diary up, you've got different work documentation and that, and you've got a laptop there. And giving somebody who you've never met, who's never been vetted, who has the potential for a quick buck, giving them access to your laptop is an extremely high risk thing to do. And so making sure that people are just doing basic cyber hygiene, like lock the thing away, take it with you when you leave the room. Make sure that you've got a lock on that. Make sure that the laptop is encrypted. And that's a really, really simple thing to do. Most laptops, you close the laptop lid, you close the laptop and it locks itself. It's encrypted, but you need to set that up, or Control-Alt-Delete, and you lock that screen. Exactly the same with phones. I'm still so surprised these days to find there are so many people that don't have a code to lock their phone or don't need biometrics to unlock their phone. I'm like, it's unbelievable. And we've seen these videos on social media of like the electric bikes going around London in the city and guys snatching phones from people while they're on it. And the risk of that is, even if you've got a lock on your phone and you're smart enough to do that, if you're on the phone and somebody steals it out your hand, that phone is currently unlocked. And now they've got access to your settings on the phone. They can go in, they've got access to your apps that are on the phone. So they can immediately dive into your entire life on the phone. And so it's about understanding that risk and going further and locking down different apps, your sensitive apps, your email app, your Drive, your cloud apps that you've got, your banking apps. Make sure that if somebody does get into your phone, they still can't get into those sensitive apps that could ruin your day badly. And
because they don't need to sit open, do they? I mean, realistically, why have them all open?
They don't need to sit open, Darren. And with biometrics now on your phones, it takes a half a second for you to open that app again. And all of my sensitive apps on my phone need biometrics to get opened, even after getting into the phone for the first time.
Okay, that seems sensible. So we're talking about all these things which could go wrong. Have you had scenarios where it has gone wrong? And what was the impact?
Well, I mean, there was a case, a couple of years ago luxury hotels across Asia. There was a syndicate sort of operating there. And what they'd done is executives were targeted at luxury hotels in a number of different Asian cities. And they'd set up software on the hotel Wi-Fi's so that when they logged into the Wi-Fi and they were on the Wi-Fi network, a fake software update would pop up on the devices linked to these Wi-Fi networks. And when the executives, when the users would then click on the software update, it would actually install a malware or malicious software onto those devices that was basically like spyware, able to see everything then on that device in the background of those devices. And that just happened because people were blindly clicking on updates and trusting random pop-ups that came up on a hotel Wi-Fi. And so, once you've got that malware on your device, unless you've got anti-malware, antivirus scanning your devices, they would have no idea that sat there and sharing back information with the bad actors. So that's one example of threats that have been faced in hotels. A recent one earlier this year as well. There was an Australian journalist, Alistair Kitchen, and he arrived in the US. I can't remember which border post. It might have been Los Angeles, I think. And he was detained at the border post, and his phone and laptop were searched. He had to give access to it. He had been posting some sensitive posts and blog posts and articles, politically sensitive to do with the US, and they gave him a decent hard time. They searched his phone, searched his laptop, confiscated those, and then his access was denied. So, that's not a bad actor threat and targeted attack. But this is the type of thing that can happen at border posts and different government agencies. And if you are a journalist or an executive in a sensitive field, or doing work that may be slightly sensitive, understand that border post, that crossing, anytime that you come into contact with government authorities, whether that's immigration, customs, police, all the rest of it, there is a good chance that they may want to get stuck into your devices and have a look at what you got.
So I'm not going to downplay this by any stretch, but it sounds as though if most of what you're talking about now, all of it makes sense. Multi-factor authentication, a privacy screen, all these things. None of this has been massively dramatic. Like, you're not telling me to buy some super device that hides this, that, and the other. And this all sounds quite accessible to an individual that's traveling. And it sounds like, I don't want to steal your thunder here. I mean, cyber's awesome, but is it as simple as it sounds right now?
Well, it really is, Darren. And, it's small. We talk about changing behavior, and it's about behaviors, and it's about being aware. And in the same way that you guys will advise and consult organizations on personal security and physical security when traveling, it's exactly the same here. It's about having that awareness about you, and so much can be solved, so much risk can be mitigated by just having that general awareness of like, no, I'm doing something stupid here. Leaving that laptop at the table in the coffee shop open while you go and get a coffee refill is a highly risky thing to do, and yet people will do it because they're unaware, they don't have that behavior. But at the same time, they would never walk down a dark alley in some city that they don't know, after 9 o'clock at night, because they are aware of a danger. They have, they sense that. But data security, information security, cybersecurity is something a lot of people are still learning, and they take for granted. This is not a threat on me. I'm not going to get harmed. I'm not going to get killed. If they steal my data or they steal my laptop, man, it's not the end of the world. it's going to cause you a lot of headaches and a lot of problems. And the drama that can be caused if you have a work laptop stolen or you have a mobile device taken can take you weeks to fix the problems that will bring in.
You think you've clicked a link. This is the big one, isn't it? It's phishing. Is it phishing? Is that right? A phishing scam. Something's come through and you think it's legit, and then bang, you hit it. And within a couple of seconds, you've gone, I've got this wrong. What's the next action at that point? So if it's work related, what's the or not? What's the thing to do?
The thing to do is to disconnect that device from the internet immediately. Whether that's a mobile phone or a laptop, just get off that connection as fast as possible and report that. If you have got an IT team, if you've got a security team, if you're working for an organization, get hold of them and report that immediately. They'll be able to remotely get in and have a look at that device, give you advice on what you need to do, whether you can run a scan on that device, whether you need to leave that thing alone. You can also let them know. A lot of the time with these phishing attacks, there is the attachment-based phishing where they will, you click on a link and it'll download some malware onto your device. That's one risk, and that's a common thing there. And everyone's heard of ransomware attacks, and a lot of time that's how that happens. The other really, really big and probably most common attack method with phishing is credential phishing. So they want your username and password into some account that you've got access to. And what they'll do is they'll send you a phishing email that looks like it's from your bank or looks like it's from your company Microsoft account. And when you press the link, it takes you to a fake Microsoft-looking login page. And you will then put in your company username, you'll put in your company password, and you'll submit that. And now the hackers have got your login details into the company account. And the minute you realize that has happened, you have to let your organization know as soon as possible, because every second that you delay letting them know, these guys are now in the system and causing trouble, causing havoc. And the sooner that you let the company know, the better that you're doing. Yes, you buggered up. You made a bad move there. You fucked that up. But you can redeem yourself very quickly by letting the right people know so that they can instigate their action plans and lock that threat down as quick as possible.
Okay, so I just want to talk about the training a little bit, if I can. So we talk about all these things we can have. We can have a VPN and that. How does the education piece work? How is it brought to the fore more in terms of making people better at what they do so they don't fall into these traps, so they feel more confident about what they're dealing with?
Security awareness training is something a lot of organizations are doing now. They've realized that they can have all the policies in place, about what the rules are around data protection and around devices and around how people sort of use the web and use data and information. You can also have all the technology in the world. And a lot of companies are spending big bucks on their cybersecurity technology to keep them safe, keep their devices safe, keep their network safe. And that's all really, really important and very necessary. But the third factor now is what we call the human element. And in the world of security, there's always been the human element, because humans can do dumb shit. And unless they are aware of it, whether it's physical security or whether it's cybersecurity, humans just need to be educated about better behaviors, about being aware of what the threats are, because so many people don't know what they don't know. They have no idea about how vulnerable they actually are. And with some very, very, very basic training and some very basic awareness programs, we can get this type of messaging over to employees, to individuals, so they know how to stay safe when they're in the office, how to function, what behaviors to use. So they are treating emails with the right amount of suspicion. They are surfing parts of the web that are safe and secure. They are able to lock down their devices, and how to stay safe at home, how to keep your family safe at home. And then, as we've been discussing, how to stay safe when you're on the road and you're traveling for business or for personal reasons, because it all comes down to behaviors and building up strong behaviors, whether it's understanding how to keep your devices safe and not have them stolen, understanding how to stay safe on social media or on different websites. And with basic, more and more organizations are incorporating this now into their risk management plans, to actually train employees and provide them with the confidence that it's not some black magic, voodoo, Jedi mind tricks. It's very, very, very simple stuff that a lot of people, and it can seem quite overwhelming. We've spoken about a lot today, and all these different best practices and different things that you can do. But if individuals are doing one of these things a week and setting it up and thinking about it and learning about it, after 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, they are well on their way to being, hundreds of times more secure than they were at the start of the journey.
Okay, that makes absolute sense. I think there is a general fear about it, but there's also that assumption, well, it only happens to other people. It won't happen to me until it does. And like you said, I know not to leave my house without locking my front door. I don't live in the Shetland Islands where we can all just leave our front doors open and everyone just pops in, makes a cup of tea in your house and everything's fine. I live in a place where if I left my front door open, there's a very good chance someone might just have a wander in and pick up some bits and pieces. Not that I've got a great deal, but I'd rather avoid it. So I lock my front door. This sounds like the same type of thing, but electronic.
It's sorry, I think my audio just went off. There we go. I got you back.
There we go.
So yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, it's exactly the same thing, Darren. It's small, basic things that people can repeat on a daily basis. They can take 5 minutes to set up on their phone. They can take 5 minutes to set this up on their laptop, and they don't have to do it again. Things like password managers, things like, setting up multifactor authentication, setting up pass keys on your devices so that, you don't even need to put in passwords anymore. You can literally just have a face scan. Don't need a password. You can put your fingerprint on your laptop now and it gets you straight in. It's unbelievable how technology is advancing, and it's making it easier and easier and easier for people to adopt and use security. But so many people just aren't aware of it. They don't know the risks that they face, and they don't know the easy steps and tricks on how to mitigate those risks. And then lastly, people really undervalue their data. We are quick to, like I said, my wallet, my credit cards, they go everywhere with me. I don't leave them lying anywhere. Your passports, your passports go straight in the safe and you secure them in your safe. And, any travel money that you've got, I mean, that's a bit old school, but you know what I mean? Anything valuable goes straight in the safe and it gets protected when you're traveling. But people leave their phones and laptops lying around all day where you've got your entire life and your entire business built on this bloody laptop. It still blows my mind because people undervalue the importance of that data, and they undervalue how vulnerable they are to hackers or just common thieves getting access to their stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so if I'm about to travel, I've got a couple of weeks. What are the three things which you say, like, if I've never really thought about this before. I'm traveling in 2 weeks. What are the three things I need to do over the next couple of weeks to start learning and preparing before I go?
I would update all of your software and your apps. make sure all of that is updated so that you don't need to do that overseas. So you make sure you've got your latest operating systems updated, all of your apps are updated. So you've done that. That's a bit of cyber hygiene, number one. Number two, remove any sensitive data that you don't need. All right. Those investment apps that you've maybe got on your phone, or different data that you've maybe got on your laptop, especially the laptop. People love to save shit on their desktop. We've all seen those maniacs who have got 400 different files on their desktop. Start using a cloud drive, for God's sake, and put it in the cloud. If you've got a business account, you've got a company cloud drive, use it. It's secure. Your desktop's not secure. And not only it's not secure, if that desktop gets, or if that laptop gets broken, or that phone gets broken, whatever was on that device and is not backed up, is lost. It's gone. So
stuck on that device, isn't it?
It's stuck on that device forever. Exactly. And so backups are huge. Back everything, and get it off your device. Get it into the cloud. Get it onto third party devices, and then MFA, multi-factor authentication, is your friend. Bad actors these days have got access to your passwords in 10 different ways. Your passwords are out there. The dark web is full of databases of passwords, and they're being sold. Your passwords are being sold. So relying on just one factor of authentication now, your username and password, is extremely risky, bordering on moronic. You need that multi-factor. You need, once you've put your password in, it then says, provide your authentication code. You can then get your phone out, you look at your authenticator app, and it gives you a 6-digit code that's counting down over 60 seconds, and then it changes that code. You put that code in, and nobody else is able, doesn't matter who has your password, nobody else can get into that unless they've got that code that you've got. And so multi-factor authentication is extremely important to set up, because it really alleviates that risk of passwords there, for sure. And then the fourth and final thing I would say is just have a bit of awareness about where you're going, the sensitivities of the country you may be going, what stories, what information and intelligence you can gather on that. And understand that if you're doing sensitive work, whether you're a journalist, whether you're going for business meetings, whether you are doing some sort of exploration for different companies, you may be facing risk where people want to get hold of your data and your devices, and just having that understanding can just elevate your awareness a little bit more and make you a little bit more switched on while you're there.
Awesome. First of all, I'm going to clean my desktop now. I'm panicking. There's so much on it. And multi-factor authentication. I think that's the biggie. I think for me personally, and I sometimes think, oh, what a hassle. I've now got to go and get this out. I've got to find these digits and all the rest of it. But the reality is I'm going to be pretty sad if I get hacked. And I think I could have done slightly better than I've done, especially when I'm away. And I've been some interesting places where, I think I've probably been lucky more than anything else in terms of, because the authorities there could have happily just opened stuff up and I'd have been in a world of trouble.
For sure. And there's nice little hacks you can get on your phone now with pretty much most of your sensitive apps that you've got. So, if you use Google Drive, you can go into the settings of your Google Drive app and you can set up biometrics on it. So even if somebody snatches that phone out your hand and rides away on a bike, and, if you don't have that set up, they can go straight into your Google Drive and access all of your documents that you've got in the cloud and get access to everything in there. If you set up biometrics on it, they can't. Your banking apps, your investment apps, your all of WhatsApp, all of everything you can lock down now with a second factor of authentication, so that if somebody gets into your phone, cool, whatever.
Fine.
But
I mean, it's annoying.
Fine. It sucks. And people also need to understand and learn how to, what to do if their phone gets taken, what to do if their laptop gets taken, understand how to track it, understand how to lock it down remotely. Both Apple and Android phones have got very easy ways to set up, but a lot of people just have no idea. It takes 5 minutes to research and set up how to do, find my phone, how to do remote wipe on my phone, how to do remote lockdown on my phone if it gets taken from me. It's really, really simple. And a very simple Google search or YouTube search will show you in 2 minutes how to set it up. And then the beautiful thing is, when that phone does get taken, it's like they don't have access to my entire world. I can lock that down or wipe that remotely.
And do you think people are worried? I mean, the wiping thing, I love the idea of it. Fine, you've got my phone, it's worth whatever, go and sell it. But what you can't do is sell the information that I've got in there, because there isn't anymore.
Yeah.
And if I'm sticking out all my information on the cloud anyway, then it doesn't matter. It's not on that device, so to speak, because that gets wiped and actually everything's up in the cloud.
Exactly. But the problem you've got here, Darren, is it takes effort to set these things up. And when I say effort, I'm talking 10 minutes of effort. You talk to people about password managers. Password managers are another great thing. The amount of people who use the same password across all of their accounts is another massive risk. Because if I now, one shitty little account that you have somewhere that does nothing, you use a password on that, okay, and it's your big password, it's the password you can remember, and you use that same password across all your other accounts. When that account gets breached and I go on the dark web and they let everybody know, here are all the users from that company and here are their usernames and passwords, well, I come across your username plus the password that you're using, and I go, well, I wonder if he's using that for his Gmail, and I wonder if he's using that for his banking. And I put in your username and I put in your password, and guess what? You've used the same password, and now I'm into your Gmail. Now I'm into your banking. Now I'm into all of these other accounts because you use the same. So you have to use different passwords for each account that you have. And those passwords need to be really long. They need to be difficult to remember. They need to be complex. It's impossible to remember all of your passwords. It's an absolute impossibility to do it. I think I have like 100 different accounts that I've got passwords for. So if you don't have a password manager, it's an impossibility to do that. And they're great little tools. It's a simple little app. You get on your phone, get on your laptop, and all of your passwords are saved there. You don't need to know your passwords anymore. You can literally sync it with the account. And when you bring up that account, you bring up that app, it talks to your password manager and goes, fill in the username and password, boom, I'm in. Or if you don't want to do that, you can do a simple open your password manager up, copy paste password straight into your password. 2 seconds later, you're into your account and you're secure. But it's the effort that it takes to set that up. And that's 15, 20 minutes, to sit down and actually do that. But once people have, like I said, if you take one of these things that we've discussed today and you set one of them up per week, 3 months in,
Great.
you're going to be 100 times more secure than all your friends, and a hell of a lot more secure. You're going to sleep a lot better tonight, and the risk of you getting exposed, getting hacked, getting attacked, getting your stuff stolen is going to be significantly less, and you're going to have a much better travel trip and much lower chance of you having an absolute bloody travel nightmare.
Yeah, as well as the other things you've got to contend with when you're traveling somewhere new. The last thing you need. Just going to add cyber to my list of problems. Okay, well, that was awesome, and I'm genuinely going to go and take a look at some of the stuff that I do. I'm embarrassed to say, but I will. Hey Dan, look, thanks very much. This has been awesome. Much appreciated. Cool. Thank you very much.